you have a hearing notice? Oh, okay. Open meeting law and videotaped meetings. Um, It appears that our, thank you. It appears that our meeting is going to be videotaped. Just want you to know that your image and voice may be recorded. Okay, this is the applicant, Marissa Evansian.
Yep, do you want me to move forward?
Is that correct?
Yeah, do you want to step forward or?
I think it would be nice if you sit down front so
Absolutely.
we wouldn't have to scream at you. Those that just came in, did you sign in? And Stephen Cardozo, 245 River Road West, Berlin, Massachusetts. Notice is hereby given that the Berlin Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 9th at 7 p.m. in the Berlin Town Office Building regarding a petition by Marissa and Stephen for site plan approval and a special permit to conduct a home-based contracting business at 245 River Road West. The petitioner makes application under the Berlin zoning bylaw, section yada. All persons interested should plan to attend or be represented at the meeting. Okay, we'll hand things over to you. Do you want to discuss with us what you're looking to do here?
We would just like to have the permit to be able to run Stevens
Do we have the application?
landscaping business from our home.
Okay, and I need you to speak up.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'd like permission to be able to run Stevens landscaping business from our home. And according to the zoning laws, we have to go for a special permit to do so.
This is true. Okay, would you just explain, perhaps you, Stephen, you'd like to explain what your business is, what you know, is it small contracting, large contracting?
No,
Is
it's
it
a small,
landscaping?
it's a small contracting and landscaping business. I prefer to stay small, I don't wanna get big, you know. I have mostly 2 employees, that's it. With time I lay them off.
One just really.
Okay, have you read the bylaw in the section that's relevant
Yes,
for home-based contracting?
we have.
Do you feel that you meet all of the requirements?
We feel like we do.
So let's just address some of the things here. Do you have the responses? Have you been given the responses?
Yes,
from
oh,
folks?
yes. They're all set.
And they're all set that way in the publications?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. So what is your lot size?
Oh, gosh, 3.5 acres, I believe.
On the previous time session that they were here, we calculated it 146,227 and a half square feet.
I'm gonna go with it, you know
146,000,
better
what
than
was
us.
it?
146,227 and a half
And that's square feet.
square feet, 3.35 acres.
Thank you.
Okay, according to the table, now, where do you fall on the table?
I don't know if I brought the table with me, but I had it last time.
Okay, there's one for 80 to 160,000 square feet and 200 feet or greater of frontage. You meet that requirement?
215 feet of road frontage.
Point of order. My name is Wart Rosenberg. The table 541, could you explain that second entry? It says 80,000 or over 160,000.
I think it's a typo,
Okay, thank you.
because greater than 160 is the next item down. So
Okay.
it goes from 80,000 square feet to 160,000 square feet.
Will that be corrected?
we will mention it to the planning board that seems to be.
Thank you.
We have 205 for frontage,
I'm sorry?
205 feet of frontage.
Ah, you're giving them 10 feet.
Well, you get,
I'm doing my math.
You meet the requirements for the frontage,
Okay.
yes,
okay? In the middle of that table, now you know the vehicles and employees that are
Yes.
allowed.
yeah,
Yes.
So you're allowed one registered vehicle less than 26,000 pounds
Yes.
with a gross vehicular weight, plus one trailer less than 1,200 pounds.
yes.
Okay.
What do you have for trucks?
I have,
He has trucks that will not be stored at the,
yeah,
at our
at
house.
that property.
Because there's two down there now.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
yeah,
they're not
that,
on our property.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna have one truck?
well, it's gonna be two trucks, two one-ton dumps. I mean, actually, one one-ton dump in my pickup truck, that's it.
With the utility body.
Yeah, with the utility body.
So you've got two one-ton
You can
Dump
say
trucks.
one-ton trucks,
and one pickup?
yes.
No,
Oh.
well, two trucks total.
Well, you, I mean, do you feel you're meeting this?
Yes.
Yes, yeah,
How?
Well, one's a pickup truck with a utility body on it, and one's a one-ton dump truck.
But you're only allowed one vehicle.
But one is like a personal vehicle.
yeah, one's on a personal vehicle, I drive every day.
Does it have a commercial plate?
It does,
And does it have lettering on the side?
Yes.
yes. Okay, that means I can take it out then, right?
Well, I guess the point that I'm making is it's used in the business.
Yeah,
So it's either personal or it's business.
Okay.
And when you have, you know, the writing on the
Yeah,
side of the
yeah.
truck, that makes it part of the business.
okay.
So I see a total of 3 trucks.
Two.
Two.
Two. One.
Well, the pickup is now one of the trucks.
Yeah.
And then there's 2
No,
one-ton.
one, so I'm
one
sorry,
one-ton.
yeah, one-ton dump.
Where's the other one going?
There's 2 other trucks that will be stored at a different
Yes.
location.
But they're at your house now.
No,
Yeah.
they are not.
One of them
They
is.
have been,
No, they're not on our property.
They're not on the property now.
as of today, or?
As of since we gave the
Yes.
cease and desist.
I've actually seen them there, okay.
The property that they're on is not ours, they're
Yes.
next to our property.
Excuse me, you need to speak up a little. There's
So
some of
they are
us that-
stored on a different property that is not owned by us. The property does abut our property.
For seals?
And is it in
No.
Berlin?
No,
It is in Berlin.
it is in Berlin. No,
It's not the facilities.
What is it?
That's on the other side of our house.
I think that's Caselli or something, Caselli.
Yeah, so Caselli's just sold his property
To,
and to Freeman Builders, who's gonna be developing on that land, which I have a contract for.
But you're storing the trucks on another lot in Berlin that does not have a home-based contracting business.
Because I am working on the
work
property.
on those properties.
But if you want me to take them out,
We'll take them.
I'll take them out, that's no big deal.
Where would you store them?
I would store them in Hudson. And if you want me to get a letter stating,
Well, I guess you need to declare, for purposes of our decision,
yes,
what truck, singular, is going to be.
so it'll be my, it's a
Pickup.
white pickup truck, yes, correct.
And the gross vehicular weight on that is?
It's 12,000 pounds.
What about the trailers?
The
They
trailer.
can be stored somewhere else.
Yeah,
So no
As of
trailer.
now,
They can be, yeah.
but they're on your property now.
they're next door.
No, they're not.
How long do you expect them to be next door?
Until he's finished doing the site work, or
Okay.
until I'm finished doing the site work.
I mean, are we talking months, years?
6 months?
If
don't
that.
know. He's gonna-
Okay,
he bought
so under
two
6
lots of land there to build 2 houses.
Yes,
And the trailer, you have a trailer?
I have a landscape trailer, which is on my property, and I also have the other trailer, which is gonna be stored off the property.
But it's there now?
It's on the next door where the other 2 trucks are.
Okay. But within 6 months,
They'll be cleaned up,
they will be cleaned up?
yes.
Well, I'm gonna just say, however long it takes for him to build the houses, like, just, I don't wanna tell you 6 months if it's not, you know, if it goes 8 months.
And where were they gonna go after that?
In Hudson, everything's gonna be going into Hudson.
So, wouldn't it be easier just to put everything in Hudson now?
Well, it would because, well, it's iffy because I'm working on the property. You know, I bring material in, I move my machines from that 245 to Crosby, back and forth. And BJ's, I also have a piece of equipment up for BJ's.
So your pickup truck,
Yes,
what weight is it registered for?
I think it's 12,000.
Okay, so that loaded, that's what it can carry, is 12,000.
If that, yeah.
Okay.
What truck is it?
It's my Chevy, it's a 3500. I think it's 12,000. The GDW, I think it's 12,000.
Did you drive it here tonight?
I did not, no.
And the white and the black dump trucks are the ones that are next door now.
We don't have a white jump truck
Okay,
My
the
white,
black
it's
one.
a black one.
in green.
Green.
Lettering on the side?
Yes,
So it's a green what?
Dump truck.
green dump truck.
Oh, this is the one you're talking about, that's next door?
Yes, yes.
Does your employee drive one of these?
No, just me. My employee drives my white pickup with me in it.
There's two 10-wheelers down back, isn't there?
One's a
Yeah.
6-wheeler, one's a 10-wheeler.
What are these?
Big trucks,
Yeah, big ones.
10-wheelers and 6-wheelers over the
That's on the property next
next
door.
door property.
Yes,
How many vehicles do you have on the property next door?
just 2.
And there's an excavator and a trailer,
The mini excavator,
exact one, too.
that goes.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Do you have a DBA?
Yes,
I have it here.
We applied for it when we moved to the house. I'm not a parent, but yes.
Who owns the land?
Me.
She does, and that was some confusion before. Just before I forget, I'd like to, because it was taped and some people watch this at home.
Yeah.
At the last meeting, there was some confusion as to the direction that you were given by the building inspector
Correct.
as far as the
Yep.
posting of notice and sending of notice. Do you want to recant anything that was said at that meeting?
No, I followed back up with the assessor's office, you know, because the building inspector had told us 300 feet. Where there, I think, was probably some confusion, and maybe the building inspector didn't realize what the assessor knew, is that there's a small strip of land that runs on like the Brook Lane property on the back side of some of the properties, and it's called common area, and common area qualifies the whole neighborhood. So even though the 300 feet is only a few houses in, that common area strip of property is what qualifies the whole neighborhood. So I think
Okay,
that
so
that's
you
what the-
still feel you were given misdirection by the building inspector?
I don't think, I mean, it wasn't malicious by any stretch, I just think that he maybe didn't know that that strip of land was there, so, no.
What about storage of materials?
nothing.
Well, at some point, we've been zoned to have a barn
But you haven't applied for anything.
for a building permit?
Yeah.
No, because we wanted to make sure this went through first.
Okay, what about all the material on the property in the back?
That's, we haven't done any of the site work on our home personally, so that's all for our home.
All those different piles, different
Yeah.
types of things?
Yeah,
That's
there's-
all for you
Yes,
personally?
Yes.
personally.
So none of that goes in or out?
No, there's
wood chips
wood chips I'm using.
and loom for when we install the
What about
grass.
all the stone?
The stone is there's blocks.
No, there's big piles of stone and
It's for the bank, so the way that the lot's been zoned to drop
3 or 4
down,
piles.
to drop down to the barn, the stone will be for like a retaining wall
Retaining
area.
walls, yeah. There's blocks, a block wall in the back, because I'm continuing, and there's small stones. Is that
Right.
what you're talking about? Yeah, small stones.
3 or 4 piles of
Yes,
big,
yeah,
big piles.
Yep.
That's all gonna be in your backyard, so
Yes.
it does not go in or off
No.
the property.
absolutely not.
So are you, just for clarity's sake, are you saying you will not store any material on the property?
No materials.
Well, no,
I don't want no materials on my property.
once we build a barn, like, can you
Well,
have tools
that's-
and stuff? Like
That's,
tools?
well, what I'm saying is, I'm asking for clarity.
As in, like,
Because that will be part of the decision, would be there'll be no storage of materials.
as in wood, as in mulch and things like that?
Like,
Mhm.
Anything
No,
used,
I don't want no mulch on my property.
I'm asking
anything-
if it's like tools and stuff like that.
anything used in the conduct of your business.
No,
Okay.
And none of it's stored there now.
nothing.
No.
You can go down and look.
It's not our place.
No, I'm willing to let people in.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Is there any type of screening on the property that prevents neighbors?
To see it.
Yes.
So, since last year, if you're looking at my property to the left, I put, 12-foot arborvitae's up as a border. And if you look to my front of my property, there's a little island there I just installed with trees and plants. And if you go beyond that, I'm planning on putting some more shrubs up.
And then to the right of us, I guess, if you're looking at the property, is like a wooded area that abuts the next property.
There 2 storage trailers on there too?
No, one,
I have one story.
There is a storage trailer.
there is, which is housing the stuff that would eventually go to the barn.
I'm looking in the chart here, and this is on page 6, for residential uses, and there's a home occupation, and home-based contracting business. And if you are residential agricultural, right? That's your zoning?
Yes,
It requires both site plan and a special permit. Okay, so that's what you've applied for. Is there a site plan in here?
the site plan with regards to like what our property would look like.
Well, just where the entrance and exit is.
Yeah,
I thought I included that.
we gave that to you guys, I think it was last year?
Yeah, that's the one from last year that I just gave you.
Yeah, I don't think anything's changed.
Okay,
Yeah, nothing's-
We've only used what we were approved for through the town when we built the property.
It's not, it's like what they bought it when they bought the house.
It was, yeah, it was like engineered.
They really are.
but all the application says is site plan.
Says what, I'm sorry?
All the application says is special permit.
Well, were we supposed to do something different?
Well, it's special permit and site plan.
I thought there was a plan.
Yeah, each one of you.
Well, there
got-
may be a plan, but I'm looking at the application.
This is, yeah, we've got last year's and this year's too.
Okay. Okay, Does anybody else at the table have any questions?
Not right now.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have any comments? If you do, I ask you to stand and state your name and address. Yes, ma'am.
Carolyn McDonald, here as the Chair of the Conservation Commission. And I just want to make sure everyone's aware that they are on the Aspet River. There is a 200-foot setback from the center of the river onto their property. So not having seen a site plan, I wasn't really sure where things were happening. I just wanted to come down.
So when we bought the property, we were aware of like the zoning and like how far back you have to be from the river, and then where the
So
barn
where's
was
the-
planned.
where's the river and
is
where's the
within the-
setback?
River's way back here somewhere.
Well, that doesn't necessarily exclude it from wetlands, okay?
No, we're away from, and we're however many feet you have to be from the wetlands.
Mhm.
It was a site plan, there's no place where they're gonna.
Yeah. So Thomas Land Surveyors is the one that designed it.
Yeah, if you could just get us a copy.
Okay.
better,
Yeah.
A legible copy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll-
absolutely.
That would be
I have a
great.
bigger plan, so I can bring that to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Mhm.
Does anybody want?
It's a little one.
Small.
Basically the same one we have.
Yes, it's the same thing
Hasn't
as the
changed.
last time, yeah, hasn't changed.
Okay.
But it doesn't show anything. I know.
So anything that we do, decision we may make, if we were to approve this request, it would be subject to the Conservation Commission review to make sure that things aren't parked or, I know that doing some stuff over at Assabet, they ran into a situation where they found certain plants growing in certain areas that made it a wetland. Or, so you really need someone to review it from the Conservation Commission and make sure that,
Related to the business permit or the barn that's being built?
Well, since we
Well,
haven't seen,
for a site plan, we'd need to know where the break-off is,
As in,
where the wetland ends, and then 200 feet from the wetland
Okay.
would be the only, you wouldn't be able to build within that 200 feet.
Or
Right.
store anything there, or park anything
Or park
there.
anything
Yeah.
there, or any of that,
Okay.
okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
yeah, but, so we have to show it to the Conservation Committee.
You
So-
will need to meet with them and get their approval that where you're parking, what you're doing, et cetera, is within their, not within their jurisdiction.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And again, just, if you're talking about the edge of the water to someplace, that's not
No, no,
necessarily
The wetlands, yeah.
constitute wetlands.
Yeah, it's a 200-foot buffer zone, correct?
Yes.
you're also talking about a roof, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're also talking about the barn, doesn't it, in the site plan?
We do have a site plan.
We do.
But that's up to the building inspector. I mean, they're not asking for that now. Personally,
When we designed our house, we designed the barn all at the same time and everything was approved. So,
It's not a new zone.
Yeah,
It's not-
nothing's-
It's from the original 3 years ago.
yeah.
Get the pictures back.
right, but it's not built yet, right?
No.
So, we really need, do you see, Jim, where everything's laid out?
No.
No,
So you-
we have the same drawing that he has, and then we have a plot plan, but,
you don't have a site plan?
well, it's not really a site plan. What you've got there is, I mean, it's a drawing that shows your lot and shows your house position on it, but it, yeah, it's the same one you got there.
Just with the barn in the back too? And the driveway going all the way back?
I saw that.
It's in here somewhere.
Usually it's-
Yeah.
I got it, yeah.
Yes. So that was the site plan that when we built the house, we designed everything all together.
It was approved,
Yeah.
I believe, through conservation or whomever it needs to go through in order for it to be approved.
This is the house. This is the driveway, this is the barn. That they have, you still have the permit for the barn?
We haven't applied for a
Right, sorry, yeah.
permit for it, no.
Oh, what do you mean it was all done together when you applied?
The engineering for it.
Yes.
Oh, the engineering.
Yeah, when we designed everything, everything was approved.
Could I trouble you to come forward, please?
With the Board of Health, everything was approved.
Right, so this says 100-foot buffer. So, and really, we can't make a decision based off this. We
Right.
can't read it.
Right.
So, something larger would need to be presented. There's no scale, this could be 300 feet, it could be 75 feet. So,
Do you have your original?
Site plan
Yes.
Yeah.
with us right now?
Not right now.
Do you have? a-
I do.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
what they're gonna want.
right, yeah, something that,
I-
that's scaled and,
Is the, are
I
they
think,
open
so,
down the hall?
I know the building inspector has it, conservation, I think
not if it's been in the last 5 years, I've never seen this.
Okay.
within 5 years.
I don't know
This
when it
was-
was originally engineered by,
Right,
Caselli is the one that,
right,
You
yeah,
guys
so
probably-
if.
You probably weren't
I mean-
close enough that you had to file, so it didn't get into their jurisdiction.
I don't know.
Right.
And I know the Board of Health approved it, because,
For
Well, for the
septic-
house,
for sep-
they
well,
wouldn't-
and for the barn.
For septic reasons.
Is this
Right.
septic proposed in the barn?
It is,
Looks like 16, I think.
Yeah.
Down here, you look really.
Oh, really? Yeah, so then they never came before us, so like Mark said, they probably aren't within the 200-foot, but I would still like to see, just to make sure.
Well, I'd like to see a determination of where the 200 feet would be.
Yeah. And something permanent put there as a visual barrier. Stone wall, something, so that stuff doesn't get accidentally stored.
Spilled.
Spilled, whatever. So that's what we would like to see, is a visual barrier on the 200-foot.
Do you mean a visual barrier to the river?
No, just something so that, like, even just drop a bunch of boulders or something so that, your guy
Oh,
doesn't
so
pull
you
onto the
know where-
lot
so you
and
know where it
and
is.
dump a
Okay,
load of
got it.
dirt
Yeah.
Did you-
on the other side of the
okay,
200
so
foot.
I don't know if you saw this or not. I don't know if you can read that.
Yeah, so that's
Okay,
that's
that's
100
100 foot, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it needs to be 200.
right.
The 100,
Exactly.
no, the 100's from the edge of wetlands, the 200 is from the edge of the river,
From the center of river,
center river.
yeah.
Two different
Because
lines.
the edge of the river changes, so
Yeah.
it's center of the stream.
How wide is this stream?
Yeah,
Oh.
start
Right
right
there.
there.
Well,
That changes, but.
Can't jump
it's
over it.
really,
It's really,
it's-
really big right now.
Yeah, pretty bad.
well, the center doesn't move, though.
Correct. Yeah.
So, but
So they would need to have someone come out and delineate where the boundary needs to be.
I would assume Caselli did.
What's that?
I thought it was done.
Caselli did the site plan.
He had them done
Yeah,
before selling them, so they're all 4 lots were done.
all designed.
So,
And Thomas Land Surveyors, he's the one that designed our plan.
But was anything flagged, was anything?
It was all
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
It's
everything's
fine.
flagged.
Yeah, it's
All
fine.
blue
So
flags
you
out
might
there.
want to just have someone come and check the flags, make sure, because flags move,
Okay.
wetlands move, so it shouldn't be.
Or something new could have grown in there.
Yeah, yeah, so just have someone come out and check the flags and,
I'm dead serious that that's one of the
It does,
plants that are
that's-
there
yeah,
determine the wetland,
yeah.
okay?
That's why applications are only good for 3 years,
Okay.
because stuff does
Oh,
move.
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yep, so.
So do we do that through you?
Yeah, just conservation at Town of Berlin.
Okay.
I respond to it, and we'll set up an appointment for you guys to come in.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you, Lynn.
Okay, anyone in the audience have any comments, pro, con? suggestions for the type of things that would be under our control are whether or not this is a proper location for the business that's being conducted. The screening, so that neighbors don't have to look at what they may not want to look at. We can request screening. The hours of operation are usually, I think, 7 to 7 in the bylaw, but that can be modified for, someone says I sleep days or something, then we can maybe make some slight adjustment in the time. Any landscaping that needs to be done on the property. Anyone have any comments on what they'd like to see? Yes, sir.
I'm Jerry Freed, 12 Brook Lane. I think some of us are aware that a lot of landscapers use their equipment to do commercial plowing in the winter. I'm wondering if that's included in your plans, and if so, does that require an additional mention in a variance if it's granted?
We can stipulate, just as we went through the storage of material, we can stipulate what the use is. A home-based contracting business can be anything from an electrical contractor to a landscaper to whatever.
I did have one more question, which
You're
I'd
free to,
address to the board. That's, I wonder, consideration of other business type or commercial enterprises in that area, in that immediate vicinity. Does their existence have any influence on how the board decides?
the board is most affected, if I may speak for the folks, and tell me if they have any additions or disagree with me in any way. Basically, making sure that what's requested meets the bylaw. A special permit is sort of like getting a license. It is not mandatory that you get a special permit. It is considered a privilege. We have always taken into consideration the effect on the neighborhood, and the best folks to tell us that are the neighbors, okay? We don't, in any decision we write, list names, but we do mention whether or not there was a feeling of positive or negative on the part of the neighbors, and that's very helpful to us. Yes, ma'am.
Linda Tomasino, Brook Lane. I think at the last meeting, Marissa mentioned that they were gonna put gates across their driveway. That would block the entire view of anything in their yard from anyone passing by. All we'd see was the flagpole with the American flag on top, and I certainly have no opposition to that. So if the gates go up, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so the problem I see with what we're doing here is we really don't have a site plan.
No, we don't, because that would be on the site plan as well.
What,
And
I
any
think-
sign,
Didn't they
On
have
your
a
driveway?
site plan at the first meeting? A huge site plan?
We did.
Yeah, we
And
did.
it was up on a board over there? I
you took
remember
that with
looking
you
at it.
though,
No.
right?
We had,
We
each
had
one of
one,
us, each one of you guys got a site plan.
Yeah.
No,
Do
not,
we
not,
have one in the file that we can
not
look
at this past meeting.
A year ago.
Yeah.
Oh, a year ago, okay, that's all,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking, yeah.
that's altogether different.
This is from a year ago.
Yeah, that's from last year's file.
It's the same thing.
October 2018.
Yeah, that's for the solar farm.
No, that's,
That's not us.
Oh.
That's not,
No.
that's not this, that's
That's
the
across
last,
the street, but that's not
You were
us.
back last year in March.
Yeah,
Yes.
sometime.
Okay, so this is entirely basically a different one, and there's not a site plan at this point.
The site plan wouldn't have changed, so I guess I apologize for not bringing it. It's the same.
but we can't approve it, and what we need to do is sign the site plan.
Okay.
sign it. You have to sign a site plan?
In the bylaw, you don't happen to have a copy of
Do
it.
you want me to go home right now?
Well, let me just show you what, okay, you wanna start?
I've seen, yeah, I know, I've seen it.
Okay, so it says that you need, for a, home-based contracting business, you need site plan and special permit. The site plan is part of the special permit.
I didn't realize that got, I just figured because we have a site plan with the town, I didn't realize, like, we brought something tonight that you signed.
Right, but as part of our duties, what we do is we're looking for the location of buildings, you know, the trees you talk about being shown on the
Your
plan.
arborvitae's that you put in, all that kind of
Right,
thing has
the
to be
fence
signed,
you're gonna
yeah,
put up
listed.
in the front,
Yeah,
because then, I mean, we have no way of
holding you to it.
holding you to it. And the only leverage we have is that the maximum that we can grant this permit for, if we choose to do so, is 5 years. And you would be required to reapply again. And then it may come into play as to whether or not you've met the qualities,
Right.
the request of,
How about if I go home quick and grab that site plan? It's only gonna take me 5
does it
minutes.
show the fence you're gonna put up?
Well,
What
it's not a
fence? The gate?
it's-
The
We
gate.
have a, we
Well-
have a driveway, and so I think what we're hearing is that it would be nice if we had a gate across our driveway, so.
Is that on the plan?
No, because we didn't decide to put a gate up.
Oh, I thought,
No.
She was,
I said we would if that helped, but it's not on a site plan.
yeah,
We could add that in on the site plan.
well, we're talking about a half hour here probably.
The screening isn't on there, nothing's been included on that. That's a previous site plan that came originally with your drive to that place, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking screening, arborvitae's, all these additional things, they have to
that's
be
just, so,
included on the new site plan and signed up.
So when you get a new site plan, they put in like, I mean, it does say berm on our old one, I believe, and,
I assume someone mentioned screening they want,
okay.
that type of thing has to all be added.
It needs to be
the site.
current.
It has to be
Okay.
current, and that's what we sign off on, it's listed, and it's included in the site plan. Basically, like you said, for us to hold you accountable in the next 5 years, to make the other neighbors happy that this has been taken care of.
Okay.
To work your business, to make sure that all your equipment is hidden and it's, all these things, everything's listed on here, on that site plan to sign off on. Does
Well-
anybody else have things they wanna add?
Yes, sir.
Rob Sanford, I'm in 5 Brook Lane, so probably the closest building to them. For what's been going on, you know, since when they built their house and all that kind of stuff, I hear nothing there. They have a great big earth berm in front of it. They're down under. I don't hear their equipment, or whatever. I would like it to stay that way. I have no problem with them putting that in. If they wanna put a rock crusher in there, maybe I got a problem, you know, but right now, I don't have a problem. You know, so I don't see, you know, I don't know whether any of my neighbors, which quite a few are here, hear anything, but I don't, and I'm right there, I leave my windows open at night. I hear nothing, you know, so I have no problem with it.
Thank you, Mr. Stanford.
I think we're also forgetting that there's been a sand pit operation operating there since before our condominiums were built. And there's more activity in and out of that with the dump trucks, huge dump trucks, than I've ever seen come out of the Cardusos.
That's a
Absolutely.
different,
It's different and they don't store the
It is
equipment
the
there, I'll
same zo-
agree with that.
It is the
But
same
it's a
zone.
constant movement of heavy equipment.
that's, I
It is-
believe that's, well, if you go back so many feet, I
If,
believe.
if I could just mention about
Yeah.
that one particular property, it's grandfathered in, so it doesn't matter what zone it is. It's pre-existing non-conforming, and it was there prior to zoning bylaws, so that could be, if it was any location, it could still remain to be there.
Thank you, John. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Phil Spelcher, 51 Brook Lane. I'm new to Berlin, and having had a bad experience in another city, how much is compliance monitored? Because I sat in on a similar meeting in my old town, and then next thing I know, there were 4 trucks and like 9 men, and when the neighborhood complained, it was like, well, they don't store them there at night. So,
I'd like you to meet a gentleman to whom you would complain should you have complaints after an approval. And he just spoke, that's Joe Atcham. He's our
How you doing?
zoning officer and building inspector. And as long as he's been here, to my knowledge, he's very responsive.
okay.
to
I mean, I don't
neighbors.
wanna put what happened in the old town on Berlin, but I just wanted to know if there was monitoring of compliance.
And the second thing is, if 5 trucks show up, make sure you have a camera and you take pictures of them that are dated, okay?
Okay.
And then if nothing else, when the individuals come back to renew their permit in 5 years, that would be prima facie evidence that they're not doing what they said they would do. And I would think that would have an effect on the vote of the board. Anyone else? Does anyone else have any negative things, any screening that they want to see done? Okay, folks, what do you think? I think we need a site plan.
Site plan, next meeting.
How long is it gonna take you to go get a plan that we can sign, that's got the stuff on it that we need?
Good.
Okay, I want you to take a look, what page is site plan approval?
98, section 1230. There's actually supposed to be 10 copies of the drawing of the lot with showing abutters and where your buildings are on the lot. And
So you just need a site plan of the house, the barn.
well, it's not just a plot plan, it's a site plan. So this covers everything that's supposed, section 1230 covers everything that's supposed to be on that drawing. So it's gonna show locations of trees and your berm
And the wetland.
whatever else
and-
is there, where your wetlands are, all that, all those types of things are typically laid out on that drawing so that we can see exactly what, things look like. And then one of those copies we sign off on, basically saying, well, just to give an example, we just did a site plan review for a ground-based solar system. And they showed where they're gonna put the fencing, and they showed where they're gonna put screening for trees and things. And that allows our building inspector to go back, when they pull their building, their permits, he can go back afterward and say, you got approval to put this whole system in based upon the fact that you were gonna put screening and you were gonna put fencing, where are they? And if they don't put them in there, then he doesn't sign off and they don't get to turn the system on. And it would be the same sort of a thing. If you present a site plan, the town is gonna hold you to it. So if you say this is where we're gonna put a gate, or we're not gonna put a gate, then everybody knows exactly what to expect.
It should show any signage, it should show any lighting, that exterior lighting. There's a whole list in here.
And conservation's gonna wanna see something for the back of the property anyway, so you're gonna have to get something done for us anyway.
Yes, sir.
Bill Tomasino, 32 Brook Lane. Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
They have a site plan. Would it be possible for you to review it with them and say, yes, this is adequate, or no, this is what's needed? Because this process seems to be going on forever.
The issue with that is, we need to approve a site plan.
I'm not talking approval, I'm just talking giving you some help.
Well, the thing is, when?
Well, if they have a plan now, can't they just come to you and say, here's our plan, is this adequate, or what do we need to do?
I guess, yeah, and I guess I would ask, I'm gonna echo on my neighbor, that my concern is that, and I recognize that this is not a concern of the board, but as a small business owner, it is a concern that the mailing was $500. So now we're gonna be asked to come back for another $500. And I would
No,
like
no,
to.
excuse me, no.
Okay, and I just wanna make sure, like, whatever we bring for the next meeting is the right thing.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the zoning bylaws?
Okay,
Okay.
it's in here.
So what you need to do is go to page 98 and read what's required on a site plan. My suggestion would be that we could continue this hearing, if it's the board's decision, until next month. And in the meantime, you could do this plan and you could go to conservation. In fact, you could maybe make an appointment tonight to go to conservation, get their approval, and then there's nothing that you have to add to, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And it is time consuming, we don't enjoy it anymore.
No, and it's not about the time, it's just more about like some
It is.
mailings.
Yeah, you would not need to do any more mailings.
Okay.
Okay.
And we
So-
are here for a reason, because.
So I got another-
it's listened to.
I got another question.
So this site plan I have now,
It's too old,
No,
is what you're
wait,
saying.
it's back in 16. The one we have now. So why can't I just give that to you? You know, have you guys sign off on it? Then anything I do is an extra on it. If I add more trees, is an extra. If I add a pool, that's an extra.
The issue is that we will be reviewing that site plan.
Mhm.
And if we were to sign one that, let's say you go to conservation, conservation says you have to move everything 20 feet. Now you gotta come back and do another site plan.
That's why I'm saying, if I can give you this plan now, have conservation look at it, correct? Instead of me writing up a whole new plan,
Well, I
then
think
saying conservation says, oh, I have to move that 20 feet.
Correct.
Then redo
Well-
everything again.
There, I think what you're, with conservation, and please jump in, what you need to do is you can take that map and go to them, and this is where the barn's gonna be, this is where the wetlands are. And then they make a decision
Right.
as to where things can be located,
Mhm.
okay? Where things can be parked. Maybe they want a stone wall, no, necessarily a stone wall, but some boulders to prevent cars from driving over land that is part of the wetlands, okay? Then you can do your plan. Because you need to show the neighbors, you need to show, any signage, any lighting, any, trees that may be required for screening. Now, we can add some things to the plan, but I think until you have something from conservation, it would be silly of you to say, I'm gonna plant a row of arborvitae's here, and then conservation say, well, no, we don't want them there, or, that interferes with the water flow, or whatever.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Barbara Paul Mill, and I live at Meadowbrook, 53 Brook Lane. This is my second visit, and what is surprising to me is the fact that everybody seems to want the shortcuts. How can we get around this without doing that? And it seems to me that if you have rules that need to be followed, they need to be followed.
Well, this is
And
what,
I just am surprised by the tone of, I did this already, why do I have to do that again? And can you take this, and why don't we do this? It's just so surprising to me. I lived in Sudbury 25 years before coming here, and it just seemed to be not a matter of following in an amiable way the rules that governs the town, but how can we get around it, or how can we get by it? And I find that a little surprising. I'm more in sympathy with the board in terms of how do you follow your rules and get things going in the proper way. My concern is with conservation and the river. And I'd like someone to speak to that. Will all of this affect the water and the beauty of this amazingly attractive bucolic town with its little waterways and it's greenery and so on, because this is like the land that, I don't know, the world forgot. It's a beautiful place. And I'm just
We're
curious.
trying to keep it that way. Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here tonight, is to ask them to come in so that we can do what is allowable for us to do.
Yes.
To make sure that they're still able to run their business or do what they need to do on their property. 'Cause
That
it
makes
is-
me feel better.
Yeah, yep, but, you know, still within the rules.
Okay, I'm just gonna interrupt for a minute. Jenny,
Come up here, this is a site plan from the solar array that we just did. And here's the road, here's the people's houses, spelling it all out, how far away they are from here to here, where the trees would go. That's similar to what we're looking for. It'd be exactly like what we're looking for.
I mean, I think what you've got here is a good basis, but this is tiny, this isn't really written.
Well, we have big
Well,
ones.
But,
So you, I know, you guys want a bigger plan.
But, I mean, if you're gonna decide if you're gonna put the gate up, if you're gonna put the gate up,
You know, proposed location.
well,
of the
you know,
gate.
it's up to you guys whether you're gonna put it up or not. But if that's something you wanna do and you think enhances your chances of getting it passed, you know, if you don't put it in there and it gets,
When you're working with the neighbors too, it helps to do.
you know, if you don't put something on your site plan and we approve it, then you don't have to do it. But if you put something on your site plan and we approve it, and the building inspector comes by 3 years later and you haven't done it, you're gonna get a
He's gonna hold us
citation.
to it. Right.
He's gonna hold you
understand.
to it. So, you know, that's the whole purpose of the site plan, is we want something that we can hold you accountable for.
So don't put anything down.
Well, you don't put anything down, then you're not gonna approve.
You know, trying to throw that in there, you know?
But it does have to show current conditions.
There's a list of things.
Not 2 years ago conditions, current conditions, and then any proposed improvements.
and one other suggestion I have is that, you know, perhaps the neighbors would like to meet with you, and they can express that to you directly,
That's fine.
and say, you know, we'd like some trees here or whatever, and maybe you guys can come in with a plan that you've already discussed with the neighbors, there's nothing wrong with that. If they want, like this gate, and we're talking about if they're interested in the gate.
What do you think, stuff like that, which would be listed as optional and at the board's discussion?
Well, even the Boundless Adventures, they spoke to the neighbors. The neighbors gave them a lot of input. The input went on the site plan, it was listed, the neighbors are happy, Boundless Adventures is happy, and it all worked out. Without our intervention, it came in, it was done. Better idea.
Well, I think the only issue would be, is if there is some friction between the petitioner and the neighbors.
And there doesn't seem to be a lot.
And there doesn't seem to be a great amount of it. So it seems to me that, you know, when we're talking about screening, the neighbors are the best ones to decide what
They're the
needs to
ones
be
looking
for
at it.
screening.
Yeah.
And if it's already on the plan, now we'll add a thing or two to the plans. And I think somewhere in here it says it has to be done by an engineer. We've never, for small things like home-based contracting business, we have never held folks to having it done. But it has to be reasonably professional, okay?
Eligible to scale.
It has to be drawn to scale. In this case, it would need to show
Yeah, it's
the
gotta be
conservation, and I don't know, when do you meet next?
Our next meeting is the 16th. So
Oh,
it's
great.
Wednesday,
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can even make an appointment for them, maybe even tonight. And you can go to them and make sure that you're square with them, and then we don't have to do subject to, and then that goes on afterwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't wanna drag this any longer. I don't wanna
Neither do we.
drag you guys any longer or anybody else. I just wanna get it
We-
over with.
Yeah, well,
Were it not for you, we would not need to be here tonight,
Thank you.
so. So you don't need to apologize, it is our job, but I'm saying, you know, we don't
Your job.
like to see, and we haven't got any further
Nothing yet.
So we would have nothing for next month either.
We're glad that we can keep you employed. Volunteers.
I would just like to point out one thing. One of the, in section 123410 from the site plan, one of the things that's required, it says written evidence from the building inspector, the Board of Health, and the Conservation Commission that the proposed use is capable of complying with the bylaws, rules and regulations, and the statutes within their jurisdiction. You need something in writing.
So, can I just
We
clarify?
get, previously, people will come in and say, well, the building inspector says, okay, well,
Right.
That's right.
we're gonna want,
So I guess this would just be my only point of clarification, is, and I want the woman behind me whom I didn't see to understand that we're not trying to like go around anything, but like I would have left here just now thinking, all right, I'm gonna come back with a site plan, I'm gonna meet with conservation, and now I just hear, now I need another letter.
well,
But you need
that's,
to read the
I
bylaw.
will, but
That's
I
why
just
we-
wanna be clear
that's why I
that
wanted to
like,
point it out.
there's a
because-
lot of layers to it, and I think it's easy to
It's
miss a
overwhelming.
layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Very confusing, very overwhelming.
and
that's
so I
the
feel
point.
like, I don't wanna waste anybody else's time
Thank you.
either, but like, there's a lot of layers to it that have to happen, and I think it's easy, I wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't,
The building inspector is here tonight.
He's
You
got
can,
his letters right here.
yeah,
right.
That's, but you need a copy of that with you.
We have a, yeah, we have that,
You should have that.
I do.
and then for Board of Health, you can just ask to be on their agenda and they just send us a note and say we're not involved, everything's hunky-dory.
So we'll go to those meetings
As
too.
in what? The Board of Health?
The Board of Health, you're not changing anything, you're not doing anything that's gonna require a larger septic system or,
No, everything was approved.
so the Board of Health is basically just gonna say, thanks for stopping by and notifying us.
You're good.
And,
But we
Yeah.
want it in writing,
But
everything,
you-
everything.
Yes, it needs to go in the file with everything else.
Okay.
And.
we're just trying to dot i's and cross t's here.
Right,
make
right,
sure
right,
we're-
right.
Jim's trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just think they need to be aware that, because you talked about talking with neighbors, they sent out all these certified letters. We went to the post offices and signed them. 2/3 of them were empty after we signed them.
Excuse me?
They were empty envelopes. They had nothing in them.
Did you make them boo-boo?
We had our 10-year-old stuff some of them, and it appears that some were empty.
But
But
we sent them out,
we did send them back out again.
so everybody's done it.
No wonder it was so expensive. Send them again?
No, it's $500 the first time.
How did you find out that they were empty?
People, when they opened them, wrote empty on them.
Well, you sign them, and then you go out into the parking lot and you open them, and there's nothing in them.
Yeah, some people wrote empty.
So the notice that you got back said empty on it, the notice that got sent
I
back?
asked to write empty on mine, most people didn't. But as talking to my neighbors, far more got empty envelopes than got envelopes. So there was a notice posted by the mailbox by Linda, but I don't know, I mean, but people didn't get the
I
letters.
didn't get any letter. I didn't get any letter.
There was a total of
We've got
6
the
of them.
envelope.
You got
Yeah,
the
people
envelope
get
with
the envelope
nothing
with
in it.
nothing in it.
Nothing.
Could I
So you
hire
sent them
your
out
son?
again. What,
I
Maybe
need
it's
to
the
write a
post
letter to the IRS.
Like, for example, one came today, like somebody wrote one today, so we went over and we put it on their front door for them.
Okay. I've gotta say, I did get the notice to go and sign for it, and there was a letter in mine. But I think that was your second mailing, because
From the
I
last.
had heard about it early in December.
Yes, yes.
First one had come out, and I didn't get anything then, so I did get one later.
no, but what they're saying is, yes, that's what happened in December. There wasn't proper notification because some of the people weren't notified. And, so they had to go and do it over, okay? And that's what caused the meeting tonight.
I'm talking
But
about the one that
that-
came a week ago.
That's what
Yeah.
came, oh
We got
dear.
nothing in
A
ours.
week ago.
Yeah, but everything's okay.
Everything's okay.
Everything's okay.
Envelope.
And Linda
Must have gotten
also
everybody.
posted it, like, where everybody checks their
There's
mail.
been a notice of this meeting by the mailboxes where everybody has to stop and get their mail for almost 2 full weeks. So if people didn't get notice in the mail, they should at least have read it at the mailboxes. That was the only thing that was posted by the mailbox for a week and a half.
And
that
the
was
first
good.
time it was people didn't get it, but what we're hearing now is some people got it and it was empty.
Yes.
Yes.
You did, we-
Then they
were
resent.
everything's on there.
I think we're pretty well represented,
Yeah.
you know, so
I think you
I think
were.
enough people
I think you
were.
heard about it, read about it, you know, that we don't wanna do this again.
No.
You seem to be a facilitator for the group, particularly the neighbors across the street.
I'm gonna be going to
So it would be my suggestion, and I'm gonna ask the board, but it's up to them,
Yes, ma'am, what?
if we wanna continue until next month. But in the meantime, facilitate some kind of meeting between, these folks and your folks.
If you have any problem.
Does that,
Is that really necessary? I haven't.
it's entirely up to you, I'm just saying.
I heard no objection.
Right, yeah,
There's no objection.
yeah, we're satisfied.
Yeah, everybody's satisfied.
So,
I mean, I need.
it's just that, what was said was a matter of fact. The fact was that most of us got nothing in the envelopes, but it was by the letter, you know, and we read it, so.
Okay.
And part of what I said was I just think they needed to be aware. It wasn't totally a
No, I
criticism. It was
I
a-
find it
it was like, you should be aware.
And I can
Whoever
assure
you're
you,
using didn't do it.
and I can assure you that I wouldn't have sent $7 empty envelopes on purpose. I assure you.
I just like to have been here when you had the discussion with your 10-year-old.
It was not pretty.
Okay, so can I make a motion that we continue this hearing to next month's meeting?
Yes, second. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, aye? All those opposed? We'll do 7 o'clock, will we, Leanne, because we both don't expect to have anything else. February 13th.
Okay.
And in the meantime, no, you don't have to do any, no, this is a hearing, and we're continuing it. They had to be notified that this was the hearing. And everybody got notified, so now we can continue the hearing, okay?
Under the subdivision rules and regulations, where it's supposed to be 4 hours, this is basically just for zoning purposes, for business, it has to remain there, as long as the
I
board
mean,
approves it.
we can all read
If the board,
the bylaws, but unless you're familiar with them, what you think is what you need is not always what you need.
Basically,
Okay,
what
well,
Charlotte is doing is keeping the guys.
There are some cautions in there, but I think when they leave here tonight, maybe we'll have just a short discussion with exactly. Are you comfortable? Again, Ladder, you got one?
We shouldn't come here, we've got hours now, or never.
Yes.
You know, so, should we take it away from the young
The neighbors first.
There's always a plan. Which makes me think
Okay, could I just ask you about, the discussion
So
is
it's
good,
all right,
but
let me
could
know
they
about that,
occur
because, it's
outside of
only between the hours of 7 AM and 7 PM. Yeah, those are the guidelines, that's across everywhere. 7 AM to 7 PM.
You can tell they're dumping, and you know how it bangs against metal.
Yeah.
And I mean,
If that's a concern, let me know.
I'm gonna start bringing some pizzas and coffee in.
it's not everybody, but it does happen.
Sure. And that happens more in summertime?
It's, right, when the windows are open. I mean, it could happen now, and I don't, we don't have the windows down.
Okay, let's just, for purposes of the recording, could we, explain what this is for, Mark?
It's for the Capes of Berlin, it's, the 12 homes there, 3 of which are affordable. And it's on, off of 58 at South Street. And it's the legal plan that makes it recordable. The permit's already been approved, the demand's been approved, the modification's been approved, everything's been done. And in the permit, it describes that I'm required to bring this in for endorsement.
Okay, well, where's our building inspector here? You would probably know better than any of us, whether or not this meets what we need here.
What it ended up is there was a waiver granted for the frontage, and they meet the acreage, so they're signed off on A&R lots with the waivers that were granted by the board. And each one has the waiver for the 4 dwellings and the septics and so forth as well.
Do you have a list of the waivers so we can just double check it against the Mylar?
I have some of the waivers. I don't have the
ones that in particular.
Do you have a copy of this that was presented to us?
Yeah, I can go get it. It's in dirty, it's in my truck.
We accept dirty,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What I wanna do is compare it to what was.
Sure.
Did we already sign the last one?
We signed something.
I think we signed it,
No, you signed I signed the permit, signed all the other stuff, and this was in the original package. Actually, Tim's got there.
What you drawing did?
Do you keep all that stuff with you for like forever?
221.
I hold a file cabinet around it.
There it is.
Okay, why don't we just lay the Mylar right over it?
So this one has modifications on it?
No.
No, they're,
It's the
it's
same
identical.
as that
so-
one? It's
Yeah,
identical?
Yep.
We just didn't get it on that last thing?
No, in the permit it says afterwards, I come back with a Mylar for you to endorse.
Oh.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep. Because in the approval process, you signed off on the permit, and then part of the condition of the permit was to revisit you guys.
Sign this.
So,
Yep.
so this would not be having any changes?
No, you guys already voted to sign it.
Yeah.
That didn't have to be, this is a general copy of what's below it.
It matches.
Okay, well then,
Yeah.
that solves
That's
our
it.
problem,
Yep.
because all we need to do is make sure that there's no changes.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, it matches.
Date endorsed, I think the date endorsed, are we gonna make it today, or are we gonna make it the day we voted it?
Does that make a difference?
I think it would be today, because the day you sign it is a full endorsement.
Right.
Okay. Shall we start?
But earlier you voted to endorse it in the future, for the future.
No,
Yeah.
Jim, you are the savior.
I have a pen too.
Does it have to be
No,
a
it
special
came
one,
in
so
mine.
it doesn't run on his over here?
There's a blue one.
Is that the one you
No,
gave
that's-
us?
yeah,
a
that's the one
permanent
that's in
marker.
there. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
thin pinpoint.
Can you get that open? I'll give it, there we go. Okay. Could I just ask, who voted on this?
They all did.
Well,
Everyone here did, I think, believe.
Yep. Yeah, the 5 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it was.
all
just
5 of us
all the-
Yeah.
participated in the vote? Okay, I just wanna make sure that there isn't an extraneous name on here that someone
No,
picks up on at a later date.
that was, Sue wasn't here for the whole thing.
Yeah, I think it was the 5 at the
It
end.
was.
I can
yeah.
sign somebody else's name.
Okay, yeah, Jim, you're
Maybe
next,
Bob Thornton.
and then Denny.
And we don't have Kevin.
I thought it was the whole thing.
What?
Tell me, sorry,
Today.
Yep.
I
Sorry,
sent it
got
to
on
her
my
at 5
computer.
minutes of 12.
Yeah, and I leave at 12, so I forwarded it to you, and that's as far as it goes.
I'm very,
It's administrative.
I talked to Buzz about the change, in our budget, because they usually go on percentages and it'll be a dramatic increase. So you can come with me, right? I don't know.
We over there now?
He said he'd let me know.
Oh, okay, well, we can go over there now, if you want.
Well, after.
Okay.
Do you have the paperwork with you as to how much we're asking for?
Should
It's
have-
in-
That has to go through the selectmen and then go to them, and I asked him, have you gotten it yet? And, he said, it may be in my bag. So I said, well, why don't you check? And,
Should be in there.
If you want a copy of the minutes, there's.
oh,
a-
this says ZBA, isn't this your boss's?
That's mine.
Oh, it's yours, oh, okay. I thought
Okay.
it was Joe's.
I move to,
Did you read it?
yes, I read it online.
Okay.
I move to endorse the petition for site plan approval of the ZET Energy Solutions from 6 Park Ave, Worcester, Mass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 'tis a vote.
Meeting minutes of, December 12th.
Yes.
Is that a
We have a
motion?
motion.
Second?
I did read those only because I had to write that. Okay. Motion is second, and we'll do it as presented. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll take that as a unanimous vote. You weren't here, Jenny, do you want to,
I'm sorry?
you
I
weren't
read
at the
minutes.
meeting, right?
I was not.
Okay, so we'll just have you vote present.
Do what? Oh, wait a minute, present. Do I need a present? I think I'm present.
You want a present?
Oh, a present? Is it still Christmas? Oh. Oh.
You want
to
this
sign the
last
next page
page
over
of
too.
the,
Technically, I'm not supposed to sign it now, but I do.
you can have this last page to take with you to FinCom.
Oh,
It
okay.
just explains the reason for the change.
Should be right here, in this pile.
This is yours, I think.
That's one.
She has her own.
missed the meeting.
This is the paper.
I missed the meeting. That's the reason.
There was a reason, I can't think
It was
now.
a good one. I think it was, and I can't remember.
Okay, we have a volunteer application,
Wow.
and this is for Keith Sucy, S-O-U-C-Y, from Colburn Road in Berlin. He's an owner of a film studio. You
Do you
should
know him?
contact him.
I don't know.
I mean, you're always looking for volunteers to do tapings, right? But he's a 1990 grad of the Northeastern University, my alma mater. Would like to volunteer, but unclear time, whatever, and then engineering, visual arts, commitment. He checked off Historical Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Conservation Commission. If I could, Leanne, and no one objects, could you contact him and just invite him to our next meeting? It's gonna be 11, we'll get him hooked.
It's
And
not
then,
gonna be 11.
you know, what-
Well, everybody except for Pat.
Well, that's
Let's see
okay.
if he hears
I'll
his
bring the rest of the
restrictions.
chocolates.
Yeah, he's gonna, whoa.
But just tell him we'd like to invite him to our next meeting so he can get a feel for what we do and whether or not he'd be interested in being a member of the board, an alternate member of the board.
Okay,
Because we can always use an extra body, right? Okay,
I can do that.
thank you.
We're all done, right?
I think we're pretty much done.
Yeah, minutes that
You did
are all
the
done.
We did the minutes, we
Yes, we
did
did.
that volunteer.
Yeah, get the notice of
we-
the decision.
Is everybody
first.
gonna be able to be here next month?
So far.
Yes.
Did we hear from Susan?
Not about next month, no.
About today?
Well, I already knew, yeah, she wasn't gonna make it, she
Okay.
was working.
Okay.
She'd have to leave early, rush back, and where she's just an alternate and everybody else was coming.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so everybody can be here for the continuation of the hearing.
Yes,
Continuation of the saga.
the saga.
I would entertain a motion unless somebody
I
has.
move to adjourn the meeting at about 8:41.
42?
Okay,
Seconded.
thank you very much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.